You were 2 weeks into the gym. The routine was clicking. You'd meal prepped on Sunday. You'd started sleeping better without even trying. For the first time in a while, you felt like you actually had a grip on things. And then you skipped a day. Then two. By Thursday, you'd deleted the workout app. Not because it was hard, not because you got busy, because it was working. If that felt a little too specific, stay with me. Because what you just recognized isn't a character flaw. It's not laziness, and it's not a lack of discipline, no matter how many times you've called it that. It's a pattern, a specific, predictable, well-documented pattern. And once you learn to see it, you won't be able to unsee it. In the gym, in your relationships, in your bank account, in your career. So let's actually look at it. Here's the thing about self-sabotage. It almost never shows up when things are falling apart. Falling apart doesn't need help. Self-sabotage shows up right when things start to work. The relationship was going well. Better than well, actually. The kind of well you'd stopped letting yourself hope for. And then you started picking fights over nothing. Over dishes, over tone of voice. Not because something was actually wrong, because nothing was. And that was somehow worse. The savings account was $300 from your goal, the one you've been building for 8 months, the one that was supposed to prove you could finally follow through on something. And 2 weeks before you would have hit it, you spent it. On something you didn't need, something you can barely remember now. The promotion was basically yours. Your manager had already hinted at it in the hallway, and somehow, in the 6 weeks leading up to the decision, you started showing up 8 minutes late, then 12. You couldn't explain why, even to yourself, and you definitely didn't tell anyone. And maybe it's smaller than any of that. Maybe it's the friendship that was finally easy, so you stopped replying to texts. Maybe it's the creative project that was finally good, so you let it sit unfinished for a year. None of these are coincidences, and none of them are about that specific gym, or that specific relationship, or that specific job. If even one of them landed a little too close to home, that's not embarrassing. That's data. Your brain has been doing this on purpose, just not the purpose you think. There's a concept in psychology called the upper limit problem. The idea that each of us carries an internal thermostat for how much success, love, or stability we believe we're allowed to have. It's set early, and it's set low for a lot of people. And when life starts exceeding that setting, we don't celebrate the overshoot, we correct it. Automatically, quietly, and usually in a way that looks like our own fault. Not consciously. Nobody wakes up and decides, today I will ruin the good thing. It happens underneath the decision-making part of your brain, and the part whose only job is to keep you safe. And to that part of your brain, safety doesn't mean happy. It means familiar. Those are not the same word, even though we treat them like they are. Your brain doesn't distinguish between good change and bad change. It just sees change. And change, to a threat detection system, is a threat. It doesn't matter if the change is a promotion or a breakup. Both are unfamiliar. Both get flagged. If you spent years being the person who almost makes it, or the one who works twice as hard for half the credit, or the one thing doesn't work out for, that identity is load-bearing. It's not who you want to be, but it's who your nervous system knows how to be. And knowing how to be something, even something painful, feels safer than not knowing at all. So when reality starts moving faster than your self-concept can keep up with, when the relationship is better than you believe you deserve, when the bank account is healthier than you believe you're capable of maintaining, something has to close that gap. Usually, it's you. You close it, quietly, and in a way you can always explain afterward with a reasonable-sounding excuse. Because an unfamiliar win feels, somewhere underneath the surface, more dangerous than a familiar loss. That's not weakness. That's a system working exactly as it was built to work. It's just running the wrong instructions for the life you're actually living now. So where does the wrong instruction come from? For a lot of people, it starts young, in a house where things were unpredictable, where affection showed up depending on someone else's mood, someone else's day, someone else's stress, where a good morning could turn into a bad night without any warning at all, And you learned, without anyone teaching you directly, to read the air the second you walked into a room. In an environment like that, your nervous system doesn't learn good things happen. It learns good things are a setup. It learns that calm is the part right before the storm, not the absence of one. So it starts treating calm itself as a warning sign, which sounds backwards until you remember it was trained on real evidence from a time when it was usually right. It's like growing up in a house where the floor could collapse at any moment. You learn to never fully trust the ground beneath you, even when it's solid, even when it's been solid for years. Even now, as an adult, standing on a floor that has never once given way, some part of you is still testing it with every step, still listening for the sound of it cracking, still keeping one hand near the exit, just in case. That's not paranoia, that's pattern recognition, built by a much younger version of you who didn't have any other tools available. It kept you safe then, genuinely, actually safe, in a situation you had no control over. The problem is, it never got the memo that you grew up, that you have resources now that you didn't have then, that the house you live in might actually have a solid floor, and the person testing it every step is still, in some sense, 12 years old. So let's be precise about what self-sabotage actually is, because the word itself is doing you a disservice. Sabotage makes it sound intentional, like there's a version of you quietly plotting against your own life, like you're the villain of your own story, working against your own interests on purpose. You're not. Self-sabotage is a misplaced protection strategy. It's your younger self, still on duty, still scanning for the collapse it once had to survive, and reacting to stability the way you'd react to danger. Because for a long time, stability really was the thing that came right before the danger. That's not a character flaw. That's loyalty from a part of you that never learned the danger past. You're not a self-destructive person. You're a person whose survival system hasn't been updated since you were 12. That reframe matters because you cannot logic your way out of a system that isn't running on logic in the first place. Telling yourself, just don't skip the gym, doesn't work because the part of you skipping isn't being lazy. It's actively trying to protect you from a version of collapse it's never actually tested against your current adult life. It's still fighting the last war. The work, then, isn't discipline. Discipline is aiming force at the wrong target. The actual work is updating the code, teaching that part of you, slowly, patiently, and with real evidence that this floor is different from the one it learned on. Here are 3 ways to start doing that. First, name the discomfort correctly. When things are going well and you feel that familiar itch to pull back, to pick a fight, to disappear a little, don't call it failing. Call it what it actually is. I'm not failing, I'm expanding my tolerance for things going well. That single sentence interrupts the automatic story mid-sentence and gives your brain a new one to file instead. You're not stopping the feeling, you're just refusing to let it drive. Second, lower the stakes. The all-or-nothing thinking is the actual trap. One missed workout becomes proof the whole thing was doomed. One hard conversation becomes proof the relationship was fragile all along. It isn't proof of either. You cannot ruin everything with one missed workout, one bad week, one honest disagreement. Let single moments stay single moments, instead of treating each one like a verdict on the whole story. Third, keep an evidence journal. Every time something's going well and you feel the pull to sabotage it, write down what actually happens if you resist the pull. Not what you're afraid will happen, what actually happens. Most of the time, nothing does. The floor holds. Over weeks and months, you build a written, undeniable record that contradicts the old one. And that record is the only thing that can genuinely retrain a nervous system built on old evidence. New evidence, collected on purpose, one entry at a time. None of this makes you broken. It makes you someone who learned, early and out of necessity, how to survive an unpredictable floor, and who is now standing on solid ground, still flinching out of old habit. The flinching will fade, not through force and not through willpower alone, through proof, through evidence collected slowly that this time is different. If this gave you a clearer name for something you felt for years, that's what this channel does, one pattern at a time. Subscribing means the next one finds you. If this hit a little close to home, you're probably also the person who feels guilty when you rest. That's next.